Let's dive into a pretty radical theological idea today. What if the cross wasn't just a plan B for when humanity messed up? What if it was the plan all along? The ultimate solution to the paradox of free will, put in place before the world even began?
So let's start with the big question that really sits at the heart of all this: our ability to choose. Is it truly a gift, or is it kind of like a curse in disguise, one that carries the seeds of its own destruction right from the very beginning?
To really get a handle on the answer, we first have to wrap our heads around the problem. And it's a huge one, a fundamental paradox that's baked right into the fabric of creation itself. We're talking about the paradox of free will.
First things first, we need to be clear about what we mean by free will in this context. We're not just talking about choosing what you want for dinner. It's about the built-in, inherent potential to sin. You see, if a being is truly free, that freedom has to include the option to disobey, to fail. That possibility has to exist. And if you follow that logic, it leads somewhere pretty stark. Think about it. If there's even a tiny 1% chance of failure, well, over an infinite amount of time or across billions of free beings, that failure isn't just possible anymore. It becomes a statistical certainty. The potential to sin will eventually lead to the act of sin.
Okay, so let's take this abstract idea and see how it plays out in a story we all know: Adam's test in the Garden of Eden. The stakes here were just astronomically high. You've got two totally different paths branching out from this single choice. Now, the argument goes that if Adam had passed the test, God had another plan for perfecting creation, one that might not have involved any pain or suffering. But he didn't. His failure set humanity on a completely different trajectory, one that led to a curse and made the cross the necessary and predestined answer.
And the fallout from that one choice, it was massive. This wasn't just some personal mistake, it sent ripples across all of creation. The very land itself was cursed, and since humanity was made from the dust of that land, the curse seeped into our very bodies. This is where the desires of the flesh come from, those urges that pull us away from God's law and ultimately put all of humanity in bondage to sin.
But here's the thing. That's not where the story ends, not by a long shot. This brings us to the huge turning point in the whole narrative, God's incredible answer to the problem that was created by that very first choice.
And this is the core idea, the big takeaway. The cross isn't just some divine rescue mission cobbled together at the last minute. In this view, it's the planned finale, the grand capstone of creation. It's the event that was always meant to bring the entire project to its perfect completion. Now, this completely flips the script on how we usually think about God's plan. The idea here is that before a single star was even lit, God already knew that both Lucifer and Adam would fall. So the cross wasn't a reaction to their failure, it was part of the original blueprint for the entire universe from day one. Okay, so we've established that the cross is the answer. But how? How does it actually solve this deep, fundamental problem with a free will that always seems to lead to sin? Well, it unfolds in a few key steps. First, the cross serves as the ultimate, undeniable proof of God's love. Then, when a creature sees this incredible sacrifice, it inspires them to love God back, not because they have to, but because they genuinely want to. Third, this mutual love actually empowers them, giving them the strength to follow God's commands willingly. And then, finally, we get to the end game. In this state of loving connection, the very desire to sin just fades away. Free will is finally perfected. It's no longer a liability, it's an instrument of pure love. All right, I get it. That makes a lot of sense for humanity. But hold on. What about the angels who never fell? They didn't sin, so they didn't need to be saved or atoned for. How in the world does the cross perfect their free will? The key to understanding this is a powerful analogy. Imagine a father with two sons. The second son gets into some life-threatening trouble, and the father sacrifices absolutely everything to save him. Now the first son, the one who was always loyal, he witnesses this whole thing. He didn't need saving himself, but by seeing the incredible lengths his father went to for his brother, he now understands on a whole new level the depth of his father's love. He knows, without a single doubt, his dad would have done the exact same thing for him. And in the same way, the cross, while aimed at humanity, was a profound revelation of God's character to all of creation. It perfected the angels' free will by showing them a depth of love they could never have understood otherwise.
All right, this leads us to the final and maybe the most important piece of this whole theological puzzle, the choice that still remains for every single one of us.
And you really have to get this next part, because it's crucial. Even this incredible, universe-altering act of love,
the most powerful demonstration possible, it doesn't override free will. The cross is a revelation, not a form of coercion. It's an invitation to respond, but it never ever forces a response.
And that's really the final piece of the puzzle, isn't it? True freedom to choose has to include the freedom to refuse. Satan is held up as the prime example of this, a being who saw the most powerful expression of love in the entire universe and still made the conscious choice to reject it. According to this view, it's that very informed, free refusal of grace that ultimately seals a being's final judgment.
And so, we end right back where we started, with a choice. This whole framework takes what could be an abstract idea and makes it deeply, deeply personal. The argument is that the entire story of creation, of sin, and of salvation was all designed to lead to this one moment, to present every individual with the ultimate proof of love, and then to simply ask, faced with a love that cost God everything, what will you choose?